In order to interpret Uranus in a house, we take the meaning of Uranus and the meaning of the house in question, and we bring them together. We consider how the drive of Uranus is likely to express itself in the area of life associated with a house. I posted videos on Uranus in the first three quadrants of the chart. Let's continue with the last. That's houses 10, 11, and 12. Remember, the key words for Uranus are revolution, disruption, sudden change, individuation, deconditioning, activism, and liberation. Now, let's combine these words with the concepts linked to the 10th house and the midheaven. The 10th is a traditional house. So Uranus here challenges the status quo. It rebels against rules and regulations. And unless it goes into a creative field, this placement usually isn't the best employee. With Uranus in the house of authority, there's attitude when it comes to hierarchies. Depending upon the condition of Uranus, you may even find someone who's insulted by most types of employment. One of the best features of this placement is having the guts to blow the whistle, being able to change and reform the structures they encounter. In other words, you've got a troublemaker. And there's a lifetime of confrontations with all authority figures. This placement doesn't crave a climb up the traditional ladder, and that's because they don't like the idea of unevenly distributed power. Give them a creative brainstorming session at a co-op instead. Uranus in the house of career also suggests instability. Strange and surprising things happen when it comes to both work and reputation. Uranus in the 10th finds it difficult to exist in polite society. But this placement is likely to succeed in Uranian settings, such as authentic self-expression or a progressive or new age niche. The chances are good that the native will end up being self-employed. So it's best to look at the entrepreneurial path from the very beginning. By that, I mean self-focused and self-directed work. This is the planet of autonomy. One step further out from autonomy is disconnection. So this placement goes through surprise hirings and firings. And these usually have to do with dysfunctional relationships with bosses and maybe behaviors too erratic for the job, or perhaps even a feeling of disconnection from the work itself. Uranus flees restricted work environments, especially if there's no real advancement or the job is a snooze fest. All the outer planets are slow and they tend to blossom later in life. So Uranus can take some time to find its way. The reason for that? Because its route is so unique. In order to actualize, this placement has to carve out something unusual, a path that few people are modeling. Another thing we find in the 10th, especially at the MC, is public image. So when Uranus is placed at the highest point in the chart, the native is seen as a shocking free thinker. They may even be called a genius. Not the most grounded genius, but brilliant nonetheless. Deep down, they believe that fulfilling work is the only way to an authentic life. Because we're talking about the extremist planet, the biggest danger here is throwing everything away too often. Uranus in the 10th has to negotiate freedom and make some concessions along the way while carving out their particular work life. We know by now that Uranus is the planet of disconnection. So in the 11th, we find social disconnection and social disruption. This placement tends to think out with the old, in with the new when it comes to its social set. Friendships come and go suddenly. You were part of a group you thought would last forever. Now everyone's just gone, and here comes another group. Being attracted to irreverent people is also common with Uranus in the 11th, or groups that make you feel like a revolution is brewing. Feeling like a misfit is common with Uranus here too. The best thing this placement can do is find a group with a misfit nature, a wild group, a creative group, that of a metaphysical nature, perhaps. The nature of groups is that they constantly change. Throw in the edgy planet Uranus, and you get a personality that aligns with a group in order to accomplish specific personality changes. Uranus isn't sentimental, so once they get what they came for, it's okay to leave. The 11th is also the house of hopes and wishes. Uranus brings instability. So with Uranus here, you find instability in hopes and wishes, especially via groups and friends. The dark side of this placement is being indecisive about where they want to go in life, which hopes and wishes they want to pursue. Their best bet is always something new, cutting edge, futuristic, or creative. Uranus is loaded with potential, you see, but not with a plan about what it wants to do once it's knocked down all the useless structures. They may not be able to find anything to focus on or see through to the end. The group this placement aligns with, therefore, holds a lot of weight. For anything to really work out when it comes to groups or friendships, they have to make sure that everyone is behaving in an ethical way. Finding a group that's exciting and also ethical can be difficult. A less exciting group is normally the thing to do. They may not crackle with energy, but they also won't disappoint you. Understanding humanity is a lifelong project here. This placement will challenge assumptions about humankind, community, and the future. What is community, they ask, and how can a community be created without a hierarchy? This placement thinks that people don't need competition in order to make advancements. We can do it without anyone being in charge. They like associations based on freedom, and they tend to break the rules when it comes to those associations. In short, socially, they rebel against the old and create the new. They're tolerant of chaos, sometimes too much so, and they find themselves in really weird relationships and group settings, even among erratic people. The best expression of Uranus here is being involved in clubs or groups that brainstorm ways to advance humankind. Ideas held by single individuals become broader ideas in the whole of society. What an individual thinks and believes actually matters because of its broader effect on everyone. This placement knows that the little I makes up the bigger we. I think of the 12th as the attic of the chart. It's what we shut away, the things we dissociate from, that of which we are consciously unaware. So, what happens when the planet of rebellion is here? You get closet oddities, closet irreverence, and a closet interest in metaphysics. Add to that closet instability. That's showing the world a much more together person than is accurate. This isn't the easiest placement because Uranus is so extreme and such a believer. It's sure that its path will lead to freedom. Having this planet in the 12th is a tricky situation simply because it's difficult to keep a close eye on what Uranus is doing. This is true, of course, for all planets in the 12th. Another thing you find here in the house of conversion and illness is a nervous disposition. Underneath it all, these natives tend to convert stress into nervous disorders. Since this is the planet of disconnection, I also hear reports of feeling estranged from the spiritual source, or even feeling like an alien, like a stranger in a strange land. Another feature of this placement is a deep need for change. Some people call it volatility, but I think of it more as a genius for finding freedom in situations that appear to offer no escape. This house is associated with imprisonment. So when Uranus is here, there is a tendency to feel incarcerated by even slight restrictions. This tendency causes the native to create a life that's quite free all around. The desire for liberation and independence is enormous. Remember also that planets in the 12th are known to sacrifice themselves. So Uranus in the 12th can sacrifice money and ambition and power and fame for simple, unadulterated freedom. Uranus is known as the higher octave of Mercury, meaning it's associated not just with intelligence, but brilliance. So Uranus in the 12th is often highly intellectual. It's fond of technology and science fantasy. They're gifted minds, mad scientists, and good researchers as well. They know how to make a network of complicated connections. But because Uranus is the rebel and the 12th is unconscious, I've seen this placement manifest as a person who's always in the opposition, no matter what the issue. They jump to the other side and bring the revolution. One of the tasks of this placement is to accept things as they are rather than continuously trying to change what's in front of them. But this is hard because Change feels like a fountain of youth, a source of hope. As Goethe said, if you don't change, you harden. Leave hardening to Saturn. Uranus believes that when you soften, the whole world softens. This planet always holds the idea that even though you're one little individual, what you think and feel and believe actually has an effect on the collective. Uranus in the last house must recognize when they have enough freedom or when they've worked for enough change. Sometimes you reach a place where you want to be. At that point, change is no longer productive and may even become destructive. Realizing this is the task of Uranus in the 12th. So there you have it. We've been over the last 3 placements of Uranus. You can see it's the same planet with the same key features. It has the same drives. It's just shaped and molded by the concerns of the house that it's in. Thank you for watching Secrets from an Astrologer's Desk, Uranus in the 4th quadrant. Next is all the ways you can get in touch for a birth chart reading and full astrological services. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The meaning of Neptune is next.